Hello everyone and welcome back to the high mountains of round 7 of the Enduro World Series. And stages don't get any more spectacular than this. If you haven't checked out our preview show for this race, please do so. We preview all the course, we talk about the venue, the riders and the bikes in all the detail that you need to know ahead of enjoying this one. If you have seen it, then who are we to stand in your way? Here is all the action from stage 1 of round 7 of the Enduro World Series 2021. Let's take a look at it then, the single points paying stage that is the pro stage, Salad Ver. Certainly a more complicated test than the name would maybe suggest. Pro stage featured 3 distinct sections. A flat out bike park assault up top, a loamy steep middle section and then a quick urban charge down to the line. In the pro women's field, 2 of the big names were caught out in the tricky conditions. The almost Canadian conditions were proving unsurprisingly popular with the Canadian contingent. Miranda Miller was 5th.
Into the sprint, into the tech, I got a little sloppy. And then, but my top was sick, bike park's dope.
Scotland's Katie Winton rode well, finishing 4th. It was an all-French affair at the front of the field, but Isabel Corderia had admitted to mentally battling to find the pace required on the bullet-fast Crom Montana stages.
I almost died 2 times, so I was too scared. Then I really slowed down. But tomorrow is another long day.
Estelle Charles had a good run to 3rd. Morgan Char, well used to high-speed downhill runs, stormed to 2nd place. But it was the familiar figure of Melanie Pugin who took the 1st place and the points. At the end of all that, then the pro women's field was set up perfectly with just a handful of seconds covering the top 3 positions. The overall points leader, Jack Moir, was in trouble. A crash on the pro stage left him with an injured shoulder, unsure if he would make the start line the following day.
Oh, not good.
In the pro men's race, Belgium's Martin Mays was back on form and back in the top 3. He would finish the pro stage third. The battle for the top spot was between Jesse Melamed and Richie Rude. Let's jump on board now with Richie and Jesse. As you can see, they hit the base of this climb virtually level pegging, and then Richie just explodes up it. He put a solid 3 seconds or so in on that pedal alone, then just carried it straight through the next sector. The racing was incredibly tight, with just 1 second covering the riders between 4th and 8th place, but Rude was out front by nearly 4 whole seconds.
Definitely felt like I rode the woods a bit like tight, but a bit nervous at the top and dropped in and felt pretty good, so happy with that.
Day 2 mirrored some of the challenges of that pro stage. High speeds melded with extremely technical riding and some added grueling liaisons made for a formidable day of EWS racing. The first stage of the second day of racing was the 3 kilometres of Calstar, which featured an extremely physical pedal up top and some ultra fast bike park sections. Isabelle Corderier's lack of pace struggled to improve on the first stage of the day. The French rider was 6th on stage 1. The former EWS champ was behind Canada's Miranda Miller, who was enjoying herself in 5th.
I actually feel like that's my least favorite stage of the day, but the next stage, it's the sickest stage ever.
Israel's Noga Karem had woken up determined to make amends for the time lost during that pro stage crash. How are you feeling today after that crash yesterday?
Not that good. My goal is to enjoy and stay on the bike.
Pugin and Shar were 3rd and 2nd on the stage respectively, but the big news was out front. Hattie Harnden, like Karem, was in no mood for surrendering any more time after that horrible pro stage crash. She won the stage by 1.5 seconds. She had a long way to go, but it was a start. Melanie Pugin was still leading the race by 4 seconds from Morgan Shar. Miranda Miller was up in 3rd, just a few hundredths of a second ahead of Estelle Charles. Jack Moir had had his morning pint of concrete and decided to take the start. Canyon Collective rider decided that he would see how the shoulder felt as the day progressed.
Just wanted to take it easy. I wasn't even sure if I was going to race. got it taped up, and yeah, just cruise down that one. Maybe try starting to push a bit harder, but just trying to get through the day.
Yeti one-up components Casper Woolley was continuing his impressive run of form, pipping Martin Mays to 5th on the opener.
It's just like icy, but you can't really tell what's grippy or not. It's just really hard to push.
Poland's Sławomir Lukasik was also continuing a superb 2021 in 4th. Only a second covered the top 3 pro men on the stage, giving an indication of just how tight a day's racing we were in for. Kevin McKell, fresh from 2 consecutive podiums in France, was instantly up to speed and into 3rd on the stage.
That first pedal is so long. Like, you don't think so when you pre-ride the courses, sure, but when you're racing, it just goes on and on and on. And I kept thinking, Richie's behind me, I gotta pedal, I gotta pedal.
Second place on Calstar went to Jesse Melamed. He was just 6/10 off the fastest time, which was once again set by Yeti's Richie Rude.
Rode really well and did everything pretty good, but it'd be nice to see the time. I didn't feel like I pushed too hard. It was weird.
The American had been locked in close combat all season with Jack Moir. To have Melamed now snapping at his heels represented a whole new set of questions. That left the overall men's race looking like this. Richie Rude had extended his lead to 4.63 seconds over Jesse Melamed. Only 2 seconds covered 3rd to 6th. The second stage of day 2 was French Exit. The 2.87 kilometre long stage brought the racers all the way back down to the town of Cron, where they could then head to the pits for some technical assistance. Even before a wheel had turned between the tapes of the Swiss round, it had been predicted to be an extremely close race, and so it was proving to be. The race leader, Richie Rude, finished French Exit in 6th place, dropping 2.2 seconds in the process. Australia's Conor Fearon was looking ominous on the second stage of the day. The high-speed corners clearly suiting him well. Jesse Melamed was 3rd on the stage, but perhaps crucially it was the first time he'd pipped Rude in the race. Worryingly low, he had spotted an issue with his rear rim.
Pretty big repair going down yet, but should be good for the next two, hopefully.
Melamed's time wasn't enough to beat Kevin McKell though. The Specialized rider was second on the stage. But it was to be another stage win for Giants Ewan Deneau, who seems to be going faster and faster as 2021 goes on. That shake-up meant that Rude's lead was now down to 2.86 seconds. Behind the leading pair, battle was raging for third, whilst championship leader Jack Moir was fighting on amberly in 15th. In the pro women's race, Miranda Miller finished the stage 4th behind Katie Winton in 3rd. If the previous day's crash had knocked any wind out of Noga Carême's sails, she wasn't letting it show. She went second fastest on French exit. Melanie Pugin was now fully warmed up and helped herself to the stage win. Pugin's lead was starting to look worrying for all those behind her. It was now out to nearly 16 seconds ahead of Char. Miranda Miller had built a 3-second buffer ahead of Estelle Charles. After the tech zone, the riders started a long spin to the top of Shaper's Secret, and just so happened to be the Queen stage. 40 championship points would be up for grab at the finish for the winners.
Probably my favourite stage all day. So good natural, rough, choppy ones. Trying to attack a bit more, but we'll find it.
Estelle Charles was 5th on the stage, just behind Hattie Harrington. The race leader finished the stage in 3rd, under a 10th of a second behind second place Noga Carême, who was continuing her good run of pace. Morgan Char was unstoppable on the Queen stage, however. She won on Shaper's Secret by 2.86 seconds and helped herself to the points in the process.
I think it's good on flats, this one, because you got like so many loose corners and stuff, so well, it's pretty fun.
In terms of the race overall, it made a dent in Melanie Pugin's lead. But that was still nearly 13 seconds. The 7th round of the championship was looking like Pugin's to lose. Katie Winton and Estelle Charles would need to summon up something really special if they were to topple Noga Carême's 3rd position on the final stage. The points leader Jack Moir was riding through the pain barrier. The Australian rode into 7th place on Shaper's Secret. His teammate Jose Borges was again doing well and beat Slavomir Lukasic home to 5th on the stage. The 3rd Canyon Collective machine of Dimitri Tordo was one spot further up the road in 4th. Martin Mays was 2nd on the stage and turning the screw towards the end of the race.
It was like a motocross track, pretty much. Like big holes everywhere. So easy to make a mistake, but I didn't. I'm happy.
Richie Rude set about cooling Melamed's jets on the third stage of the day. The Canadian was third behind Mays.
It was super fun to ride, but it was definitely tough to race. I had to be pretty precise and didn't feel like I was pushing a ton, but clean run, so happy with that.
Rude took the stage and the points. If he could convert on the last stage, he would leave Switzerland with the maximum available points. Standing in Rude's way were a Canadian, a Belgian, and the final stage. If there was to be one last twist in what had been an EWS tinged with tension throughout, then it would have to come on stage 4, Moir Toxique. A lengthened version of the pro stage beckoned. In the pro women's race, Trek's Hattie Harnden had fought back bravely all day and pushed hard all the way to the finish line. She came home 4th on Moir Toxique.
Yeah, I didn't crash. Had a lot of fun. It's fast up top. Yeah, it's awesome. I have no idea how I did, but I'm happy with how it went, so yeah.
Noga Karem powered home to third on the stage on what was one of her most impressive rides of the season so far. But neither she or stage winner Morgan Schar could catch Melanie Pugin.
Yeah, I did my best everywhere I could. Was much more careful than yesterday. And yeah, enjoyed today. The crowd was incredible. So thank you, Swiss crowd.
Pugin was second on the stage but had barely looked behind her all race. And there is confirmation of a race filled with big performances. Melanie Pugin takes the win, 9.76 seconds ahead of Morgan Schar, who rode superbly throughout.
Yes, thank you. I am super happy. It was a good feeling all the day and I am just super happy.
That hotly contested third place went to Noga Karem, who beat Hattie Harnden home, both of which represented superb comeback rides after those big crashes on Saturday morning. Estelle Schar was 5th ahead of Isabelle Corderier and Katie Winton. Jack Moir knew that at this round, maybe more so than any other this season, he needed points. Jack gritted it out all day and would be rewarded with a 10th place and some valuable championship points in the process. A huge day on the stages resulted in another top 5 finish for Kevin McKell as the New Look Specialised team continued their impressive season. But it was an absolutely stellar ride from Slavomir Lukasic on board his NS that would threaten to steal the show with a 2nd place on the stage behind Antoine Vidal. It would mark the highest ever finish for a Polish rider in EWS history. What could Jesse and Martin do about a problem like Richie? An epic alpine battle was about to reach its conclusion. Richie Rude may have lost the final stage by a second, but he still managed to beat his main rivals home to take the victory by over 6.5 seconds.
It was good. My hands are hurting a bit at the bottom, but hammered the pedal and tried to just hold on for the rest of it.
Jesse Melamed was a valiant second, and Martin Mays managed to take to the 3rd step of the podium. In the pro women's overall standings then, Melanie Pugin has a commanding 585 point lead over Morgan Schar and Hattie Harnden. A courageous ride from Jack Moir did limit the damage, but it didn't stop Richie Rude from retaking the lead in the overall point standings. Heading into the next round, he is just 90 points ahead. Jose Borges is in 3rd, 10 points ahead of Jesse Melamed and 40 points ahead of Kevin McKell. And in the Teams Championship, Canyon Collective lead Pivot Factory Racing and Ibis Cycles Enduro team as the season nears its sharp end. The good news is that you don't have long to wait before we get to the aforementioned pointy end. Join us right here on GMBN next week as we head to the penultimate round for the ever iconic Bluegrass EWS presented by Vittoria from one of Europe's mountain bike meccas, the Finale Outdoor region. We'll see you there.